Hello and welcome to Game Day U. I'm Parker Abels, and alongside me is Carly Murray, Ashley Velde, and Dylan Rivera. How are we doing today, guys?
So excited to be here. Big 12 play starts today for the Sooners.
Yeah.
That's right, Carly.
It's
Doesn't
another
get
great,
much better.
I was going to say it's another great college football Saturday, and yeah, Big 12 play starts today, so looking forward to it.
Well, the Sooners are coming off a dominant win last week against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. While they got off to a slow start, giving up an early touchdown, it was all Sooners from there. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel started it off with the 61-yard touchdown run. Then a couple of drives later, he connected with Jaleel Farouk for a 25-yard TD. On to the second quarter now when Marcus Major had a pair of TDs, one on the ground and another on a pass from surprise tight end Braden Willis. Then Eric Gray makes a man look silly on the way to a 16-yard touchdown. The Sooners would go up 35-7 at half. To start the second half, freshman Jared Kanek would come up with a big hit and fumble recovery to give the Sooners the ball to start the first half. Or the second half, excuse me. Eric Gray would once again finish it off, then Theo Weiss would catch the last TD of the day. With the Sooners coming off that big win, it's now time to turn their attention to Kansas State. After a big win, it can sometimes be hard to refocus after getting ready for a tough team like K-State. But Brent Venables isn't worried about last week and says it's not about who we're playing, it's about us.
Last week's game is not unlike any other game to me. Again, with all due respect, if it's about us before, it's certainly about us, after as well, and it will be moving forward. So I don't have to change anything up. We have a very clear vision for a routine and what it takes to get our guys ready to play and compete at a high level.
Brent Venables is never fazed about his opponent. He said, we just need to go get that next win. The Sooner linebackers have a big threat in this Kansas State game. Running back Deuce Vaughn. Vaughn is 5'6". He's a short and stocky back who leads the Big 12 with 352 rushing yards. Ted Roof and his guys have been paying special attention to Vaughn in his run game.
You're talking about one of the nation's best running backs in Deuce Vaughn. Certainly in the run game, he's got great hips and feet and vision, and he's got a lot of patience too. Well, he'll stay back there and all of a sudden wait for somebody to get nosy and jump out of their gap, and then here he goes. And at the same time, he's a weapon, in the throwing game as well too. So they throw him they get him very creative in how they get him the ball. And again, we have a lot of respect for him, and he's one of the best backs in the nation, and we know it's a great challenge for our guys.
Now, there's a lot of depth on this Sooner team. You saw it last week at Nebraska when Venables said they were able to play 70-plus guys off this roster, but especially in that wide receiver room. Jeff Levy has more on that.
A credit to Theo, to Jaleel. Those guys have been great teammates, and we've got a great culture inside that locker room right now and inside the building, all because of Coach V and how he sets the standard and how we operate every single day. And unselfish play is a big part of who we are and who we're going to be, and those guys have exemplified that, and proud of them for it.
Last Saturday on Fox Big Noon, Urban Meyer described Brent Venables' defense as chaos. And if you could see it, you were watching it with a keen eye. Showing different sets can be confusing for a quarterback to read. There were sets with 3 safeties and plenty of snaps with only a 3-man front. Defensive tackle Jeffrey Johnson liked playing in the center of a 3-man pass rush.
It's quite difficult, having one defensive tackle in the middle and 2 ends outside. But, we were prepared for it, but I'm looking forward to playing more 2 guys this week. So, yeah.
Felt kind of lonely in there at times.
I ain't gonna say lonely because I'm kind of like 2 people.
Well, Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium added something new and exciting for game days. Game Day U's Addie Crawford is live outside the stadium. Addie?
Yeah, Parker, when we come back, I'll show you the latest thing lighting up Sooner game days. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Game Day U. Big 12 play starts today under the lights of the Palace. What are you guys looking forward to for tonight?
Well, I'm a student, so as a student, I love any chance at free stuff. So let me go out there and kick for free Chick-fil-A, and I'll turn to Justin Tucker. I'm telling you, I'll boot it.
Hey, Justin Tucker's the best kicker of all time, so if you're kicking like him, I want to be on your team.
All right.
Well, I'm excited to see those stadium lights again tonight for sure.
And now let's go back to Addie Crawford, who has more. Addie?
Yeah, the Sooners are back under the Palace lights tonight. With the new addition of LED lights to the stadium, I got to talk to players and fans about how they feel about the new atmosphere. Take a look.
So when I first saw the lights, I was really excited because I haven't seen anything like that before.
It was so cool. Yeah, I loved it. It was like thunder and lightning. It was really nice.
Oh, it was crazy. It was probably well, I'm a senior, and it was probably the best game I've been to as a student.
I was not like mentally, emotionally prepared for it. So all I see is it go dark. Everybody shoots up, stands up. Oh, it just brought a whole nother level of hype to the game.
We're just going crazy in general, but the lights are definitely like a special touch.
Makes the whole thing a lot more fun for the players, the fans, and everyone. So.
See the lights dimming, like it felt like a party, man. It was like a club or something.
But now that it's us and all the LEDs in the atmosphere, it was a game changer.
Because I remember playing in a stadium, the LEDs going off, and I was like, I'm scared. I'm a little scared now. So it's definitely good. It definitely plays a part in the home atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? It gets the crowd going.
I was literally telling my family about this today for family weekend, how it's really exciting and fun in the stadium when they do that.
Lights flickering like after a touchdown, it does enhance the game overall, especially like that in the fireworks. And then when people pulled out their phone flashlights, it just really, really enhanced like the game, made the game more like overall enjoyable.
Especially with like the night games and later games, it looks really cool once the sun goes down, and it was just a really crazy atmosphere.
It did make me want to stay longer.
Only go up from here. We're only going to get better.
It's super fun. I think OU is one of the best like atmospheres and culture around football that I saw of any of the schools I was looking at.
Boomer Sooner!
If you're going to the game tonight, then be sure to download the Oklahoma Sooners app to participate in the third quarter light show. Your phone's flashlight will sync to the song playing during the break. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss it. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Addie. With the Sooners heading to the SEC, a beloved rivalry is coming to an end. GameDay U's Hallie Moss has more.
Conference realignment has claimed yet another rivalry. With OU headed to the SEC in 2025, the annual Bedlam matchup between OU and OSU has been in question. But today, we got our answer. Sooners Athletic Director Joe Castiglione, as well as Oklahoma State's Athletic Director, confirmed to Brett McMurphy at Action Network that the rivalry will not continue and they are moving on. OU head coach Brent Venables found out today during his press conference.
I didn't hear that. So I love rivalry games for all the right reasons. So if that's what they've decided to do, that's what they've decided to do. My opinion really doesn't matter. But I love rivalry games for all the reasons. People have a deep, genuine investment in their school and take incredible pride. And so what that does in those environments is really cool.
The Bedlam series began in 1904, making Bedlam the nation's second longest uninterrupted college football rivalry. Castiglione said Oklahoma State has shown no interest in keeping that rivalry on the field, but both schools are confident that the Bedlam series will remain in every other sport except for football. Reporting from Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, Hallie Moss, OU Nightly.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little K-State and take a look at the rest of the Big 12. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Game Day U. It's time to dive into a little bit about the Wildcats. The Sooners have struggled against Kansas State in recent years, losing 2 of the last 3 to the Wildcats. But with the new coaching staff this year, I expect that trend to end tonight. What are your guys' thoughts on Kansas State?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the last decade of play. They've had a good record against every opponent, 8-3 or better against every Big 12 opponent, except for Kansas State, where they've gone 6-4. Against the Wildcats in that stretch. So obviously the Kansas State coaches have had the Sooners number, so we'll see if that stands to reason today.
Yeah, so last week Tulane actually upset Kansas State. So I'm interested to see how the Wildcats bounce back from that. Last week, Deuce Vaughn was held to 81 yards on 20 carries. This was the first time in 9 games that he was held to fewer than 100 yards rushing. So I'm curious to see how Vaughn performs tonight.
I think they're going to have Oklahoma's number tonight for sure, especially after losing to Tulane. But I think also that OU's offense is going to see their biggest test so far this season against that K-State defense.
Well, when Kansas State takes the field in a few hours, the Sooner fans will recognize a few of the Wildcats' key contributors. Our Tyler DeLuca caught up with 2 of those K-State standouts before the season starts to fill you in on their connections to OU.
Tyler DeLuca here at Big 12 Football Media Days, where we just heard from a new face to the Big 12, but one that might be slightly familiar to Sooner fans, former Cornhusker and now Kansas State quarterback, Adrian Martinez. And it turns out he was actually pretty close to playing a lot more games at the Palace.
It was a great experience playing at OU, and one of my old high school teammates, Caleb Kelly, that was kind of our connection there, and I was definitely close. I remember Lincoln Riley actually being in my high school gymnasium talking to me and my high school coach, and I was close, but at the time I was more focused on the SEC, more focused on going to Tennessee.
And joining him in the backfield is unanimous preseason All Big 12 selection Deuce Vaughn, who's been working on the mental side of the game to take his on-field play to the next level.
Especially going into this season, one of the things that I really wanted to hound myself on as far as going in was getting my mental side of the game correct. That, of course, I feel like I have a great knowledge of the game, but just gaining more, and talking to my coaches and, hey, why do we do this on this play? Why is the O-lineman doing this?
And Kansas State this season will be looking to enter into that next tier of Big 12 title contention. Reporting in Arlington at AT&T Stadium, Tyler DeLuca, GameDay U.
It's time to take a look at the rest of the Big 12. Some undefeated basketball powerhouses face off as Kansas is taking on Duke and Lawrence here in a little bit over an hour and a half. I'm looking forward to see if these schools are actually legit, and I'm really excited to see which one of these guys are going to go 4-0.
It's going to be KU. I think so.
I'm really looking forward to the Iron Skillet. This game is so special to the DFW area. It's also exciting because TCU head coach Sonny Dykes was actually the head coach at SMU last year, so he's facing his old team. And he took a lot of players, coaches, and assistants with them. So this will be sort of a homecoming for them. So I'm looking forward to that game. You're good. And we can't talk about SMU without talking about Tanner Mordecai. You know, a former Sooner. I know we're all kind of rooting for him. He's a great quarterback. So I'm excited to see his performance today.
Definitely, big Mordecai fan. And also, I'm also looking forward to that game because Rhett Lashley, SMU's head coach, was hired under Sonny Dykes at SMU, so they'll be kind of knowing each other's game plan, meeting up again.
Well, and Hallie had talked about it in her package there. OU and OSU not going to be playing anymore. That was one thing that was a big storyline this week. I mean, obviously you had Mike Gundy pulling out the notes and you know, giving his spiel and all kinds of stuff, and on Twitter everything was going back and forth. But at the end of the day, for us who have been, you know, having this vested interest in this rivalry, or Parker, I know you can agree with me on this, native Oklahoman, right? You look forward to that game every single year, and so now that game is kind of on the way out, it's a little bit sad to see.
Yeah, well, when we come back, we're going to break down tonight's game between the Sooners and the Wildcats, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Game Day U. It's time to break down some of our favorite matchups for tonight's game. Everyone has been talking about how dominant Eric Gray and Marcus Majors has been, but no one's talking about what's making them great, and that's the O-line. The boys up front have been clearing holes that I think a car might be able to drive through. Andrew Rame has been leading the way at center, and Chris Murray and Anton Harris has been running through the D-line as well. I think they might have a huge game, which is going to lead to some great Eric Gray runs tonight.
Well, you hit on the running backs, and that's what I'm going to talk about. This Oklahoma run game has been off to a great start. Last week against the Huskers, OU's 312 rushing yards were the most in a true road game since rushing for 323 yards in the 2018 win at Texas Tech. Eric Gray and Marcus Major have really stepped up and filled that hole that Kennedy Brooks left. Eric Gray is versatile. He can run and he can catch the ball. You guys remember that Nebraska game? He had that really cool catch. Gray leads the Sooners with 286 rushing yards and averages 7.7 yards per carry, which is 6th in the nation out of the playmakers. Marcus Major has the most touchdowns. He has 4 through 3 games, and Major is really physical in his run game. He kind of reminds me more of Major a little bit, but I'm really excited to see this Oklahoma run game today.
Definitely, Carly, and especially after last week when the running backs had such a big weekend in Nebraska. But that's what K-State is going to be looking to stop this weekend, is that running game. Prior to the Tulane game, the Wildcats were ranked 5th in scoring defense, 15th in total defense, 13th in passing defense, and tied for 5th in interceptions, and they were also tied for 6th in tackles for loss. This game is going to test OU's defense, I think, with Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez, but I think mostly OU's offense is going to see a test against this strong Kansas State defense.
Well, you took a look at the Wildcats, and I'm going to as well. Colin Klein is now the full-time OC at Kansas State. That's a name you might remember. He's had experience playing against a Brent Venable's defense back in 2011. The game didn't go too well for Klein's crew, but the ball barely left his hand, only throwing it 16 times total. It'll be interesting to see how he applies his own strategy to attacking OU's defense, since his old coach's strategy ended in a 58-17 loss.
Well, guys, it's that time. We're going to choose who's going to win tonight, and we're going to give them a score. I'm going to go 27-17 Sooners. I think the Kansas State defense is going to be fierce. It's been fierce all year. And while they did have a slip-up last week against Tulane, their defense was still dominant. So Deuce Vaughn is always a threat. So what do you guys think?
I think I'm going to do 27-14. I'm not going to doubt Oklahoma's defense anymore. I think they showed us at Nebraska that they're the real deal. So I'm going to trust that they hold them just to 2 touchdowns, and I think Oklahoma's offense will still be explosive. I know it'll be a test against that Kansas State defense, but I'm really trusting the Sooners tonight at home in the Palace with all the flashing lights.
I'm on a similar page as you, and like I said, I think our offense is going to, OU's offense is going to see more of a test. I trust that defense, so I'm going 31-17 OU.
Well, I've been the fool on this set so far. I had Kent State putting up 20+ on OU last couple of weeks ago, and then last week I had Nebraska keeping it close. I was wrong on both ends, so I'm going to try to correct that mistake this time around. I'm going to say 35-10, OU wins in a big way. I'm done betting on close ball games. I'm saying OU wins big this weekend.
All right. I like those picks, guys. But when we come back, we're going to bring in a new team, and we're going to make some more picks. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Game Day U. I have a new crew next to me, Jimmy Wicks, Amaya Ward, and Stone Weber. You guys ready to make some picks?
Yeah, we're so ready.
Well, let's start off with an SEC opener today in Jerry World, Texas A&M and Arkansas. Jimmy, tell me who you got.
Last year, KJ Jefferson lit up the Aggies with a bad knee, and now that he is healthy, this A&M squad needs to look out. And on the defensive side of the ball for the Razorbacks, they are #1 in the country in sacks, with Drew Sanders and Jordan Dominic leading the charge. KJ Jefferson and this great Arkansas pass rush will be too much for the shaky A&M squad.
I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I agree with you, Jimmy. Texas A&M may have gotten back on track with the victory against Miami, but the Aggies aren't ready to generate a running game against an Arkansas run defense that allows just 68.3 yards per game.
I'm going to have to disagree with you guys on this one. And Jerry Jones won't be too happy this week, but I'm going with the Aggies. A&M won a sloppy game last week without 2 starters, but they're going to make up for that big this weekend with Liberty High School product and 5-star freshman Evan Stewart. He was suspended last week, but with his play today, he'll look to make the A&M offense dynamic with desperately helping Max Johnson against an Arkansas team who gave up 400 yards last week. And in the last 8 matchups since its move to Cowboys Stadium, A&M is 7-1. I think they'll make it 8-1 today, guys.
I like those picks. I like those picks. But now let's go to the ACC. Sam Hartman is back for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and they're taking on the 5th-ranked Clemson Tigers. Who's taking this one?
For me, in these important matchups, QB play makes a huge difference, and Wake has their man in Sam Hartman. Hartman threw for 325 yards last time out and runs a hyper-efficient offense. DJ once again hasn't thrilled critics, and at Wake Forest, Clemson has to be firing on all cylinders, while Wake has been fantastic this season. Give me the Deacons for a big program win.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, Jimmy. Clemson's defense is suffocating. Star defensive tackle Brian Brzee is back this week. This defense is allowing only 2.4 yards per carry. The Demon Deacons can give it a shot, but Clemson's quiet season is about to get louder.
Amaya, you touched on it. They may be only averaging over 2 yards a carry, but they don't need to do that when they can throw the ball. The Demon Deacons will pull off the upset. Clemson, up until this point in the season, has not been impressive, and in my opinion, they have no business being in the top 5. Jimmy touched on it. Wake Forest quarterback Sam Hartman has thrown for 300-plus yards in his last 2 starts and has led the Demon Deacons to a combined 82 points in the 2 games he started this season. Clemson has only given up 42 points all year, but their competition is nowhere near the talent of Wake Forest, and Wake Forest will get their first top 10 win since 1946.
And Wake Forest for 2, you guys? Man, I think I'm going to go Wake Forest as well. Sorry, Amaya, but let's go back to the SEC, where a rivalry is getting renewed in Knoxville. Florida, Tennessee. Jimmy, are the Vols going to stay undefeated?
I think the Vols will. Tennessee has been fantastic this season, led by Heisman candidate Hendon Hooker. Meanwhile, in Gainesville, Anthony Richardson has yet to throw for a touchdown while throwing 4 picks to start the season. Heck, Richardson has 3 more tackles than touchdowns, and he plays quarterback. This Tennessee offense will be too much for the Gators, and the Vols will get into the top 10 with a huge win.
I agree with you, Jimmy. All Tennessee has to do is be balanced offensively, and I think the Florida defense will let them down. The Volunteers bring that top dog offense, averaging 52 points per game, a couple of Anthony Richardson interceptions, leading to quick Tennessee scores, making this over by the 3rd quarter.
And although Anthony Richardson might not have a touchdown on the season, he is still one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the country. Look for Florida's run game to get going if they want to win this game. And I don't know if I'd call it much of a rivalry. Florida is 9-1 in the last 10 against the Vols.
Well, finally, the Kansas State Wildcats are coming down to Norman to take on the Sooners. We all took the Sooners earlier in the show, but do any of you guys think the Wildcats can pull off the upset?
I don't think so. This OU defense has been stellar this season, and this K-State team needs Deuce Vaughn to put up video game numbers to hang with the Sooners. Dylan Gabriel needs to continue being smart with the ball. This Sooner squad has to key in on Vaughn, limit his touches, and shut him down for this Wildcat offense.
There's no other team in a better place to win other than the Sooners. Wildcat QB Adrian Martinez led Nebraska straight into a loss here in Norman last year. I'm happy to say he's doing it again today.
And Oklahoma had their best performance of the season last week in Norman, putting up 49 points. But I think the key today for OU will be stopping Kansas State's run game and make Adrian Martinez beat them. I think OU's going to come out on top.
Well, thanks for watching Game Day U. I'm Parker Abels, from Jimmy Wicks and Amaya Warden, Stone Weber. Have a good and safe game day. Good night.